In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? First thing I want to talk about is my poster, which you can see right here. In the poster, what I have done is I've put some normal conventions using a standard format used by many filmmakers who create posters. So what you'll see is at the bottom there are the production credits. You will also find the title, a sort of slogan, and the actors' names at the top, as well as the main image in the centre. I went for a very simple idea here, as opposed to say some of the other posters I might have seen, experimenting with the whole black and white aspect. As I might have written before in some of my earlier posts, white connotes innocence, purity, and just a general good side to things, whereas if you were looking at black connotes violence, power, evil, antagonism, all them sorts of things. So by juxtaposing them together, you're kind of showing that battle between the good and the bad, and I think that's what's most effective at conveying at least some portion of the plot, which will be happening in my film. You're always going to find in sci-fi films that they'll be putting a good versus bad, and that's one of the themes you'll usually find in it. And as a result, that's helping to show that my poster is conforming to the conventions of a sci-fi genre, because it's using the colours to give the reading that you will have some element of dark, twisted narrative interposed with the good side of everything. I have used a standard form of typography at the top and the bottom, which is conventional of just all posters. It doesn't necessarily convey the genre, it just simply puts into the fact, it just basically tells the audience that this is a poster so that they're aware, and it's just a way of informing the audience what this product is. If you've noticed, on the title and the slogan, as well as all the fonts to be honest, I have used a sans serif font. If I was to go about using a serif font, it would make the whole poster look more formal, and it would give the reading that possibly this film is about something very important, where you might say, if you look at the King's Speech poster, that would use a serif font because it's showing that higher up, upper class, standardised form and way in which the poster is created and the film is actually about. But I purposely chose to use sans serif font because by doing that it has a certain sense of informality, and it emphasises this whole idea of a world being unstructured and destructed. The society is being destructed by this drug which is taking over people. So hopefully that is one way, again, that I'm conforming to the conventions of a sci-fi genre. The title, I got feedback from a target audience earlier on last year, well later in the year, and what they told me is that the best one out of the list was the font which is now used in my poster, mainly because it looks very futuristic. I found this from the font in the sci-fi section, so it is definitely something that people can consider as a sci-fi font, and in my opinion it looks futuristic. It's the sort of thing I would usually find in a sort of robot film, maybe one just basic films about robots. So I think that definitely helps to show that my poster is conforming to the conventions of a poster and a sci-fi film. As for the image itself, we just have my character Michael's face. Half of it I used an effect on Photoshop, which was editing the threshold. There were a lot of white bits from the background, so what I did is I got onto paint and I took some of these bits out, just painted over in black. I really like the image because it looks very rustic. There's also a kind of militaristic element to it. It's quite hard to describe, but when you look at the sorts of media used to convey the military and images of soldiers, a lot of the time what they'll use is this kind of rustic, quite shabby outlook, just to kind of emphasise the masculinity and the rough lifestyle of the characters. So by including that, I'm hoping that can also convey a part of the plot and how there is an element of apocalyptic survival, and hopefully that then conforms to the sci-fi genre by showing that the poster is looking at apocalyptic things. I've left the space blank around him and just black because it shows that overpowering dominance of the antagonism in this film, which when you do watch the end of the film, we aren't aware of the succession of the protagonists. We're only aware that the whole world is overrun by the antagonists. So hopefully this reflects this final outcome and the overwhelming power of evil in the sci-fi genre. What a lot of people said in response to watching my film initially was that you'd find the characters, you'd find a lot of people saying that it looked like more of a horror film. So certainly this makes it does make it look like a horror film, but I think with the typography involved it does help to show that it's a sci-fi and not purely a horror. Horror does come into it, but it's not the main theme. And I think that's where it conforms there.